All right, so today what I want to talk about is open houses. If you're selling your house, should you have an open house or should you not? It's an interesting question. My name is Andrew Gavin. I'm a mortgage lender covering all of California, and I sell real estate here in San Diego. I've been licensed in this industry since 2006. Open houses have been very common practice used in the industry forever. Since the very first listing ever taken, there was probably an open house. While this might make sense to some, I don't know that it does for everyone. There's pros and cons to why you would have an open house. Now, in my personal opinion, the number one thing that is the most important is putting your house on the market and making it available for sale, especially here in California and in San Diego. You will find a buyer because there is not enough houses for sale. Now, when you put your home on the market, the number one thing you want to happen is you want to make sure it starts in your local MLS and then gets distributed to every search portal and real estate website that exists. That is going to be the best way to ensure that your property is seen by the most people. Now, there are a lot of other marketing things that can be done to help get more eyes, interest, and offers on your property. But today what we're talking about is open houses. My opinion is I don't know that they're the best thing to do. I don't think you should rely on them. Personally, in my career since 2006, in all those years, I have sold one home based on a visitor coming in, seeing the open house signs before seeing it on the internet, liking the property, liking the vibe of the environment so much that they purchased the house. This was a listing that I did with a buddy. It happened to be his parents' house who had lived in the neighborhood forever. This open house was so unique because of the relationship that these owners had with the neighborhood, and the actual neighborhood itself was a very popular one here in San Diego, where people looking for houses in this neighborhood go to every available open house because they bid on nearly everything. It's that sought after. And at that time, it wasn't overpriced either, but it's very, very popular. Because of this scenario, this open house, based on the interest of the neighborhood, the friends and family that lived in the neighborhood, and the marketing that we did to just make it available to the interested people looking in that area, for 3 hours, it was like being at a party. Partner and I were hosting a meet and greet type party. And this one lady who was driving through the area with her friend saw the open house and came in, and she sat down on the couch for almost 2 hours and just took it all in. Before she left, she was talking to us and tearing up how much she loved this house, how much she felt the vibe of this house was calling to her. All that played into her offer and her effort to ensure that she got this house. Interesting enough, within 2 weeks of closing, she gutted that whole place and made it work differently for her situation. But nonetheless, the environment that was created because of the home sellers, their relationships within the neighborhood, and the neighborhood itself, all that played into this open house being so unique for this particular buyer. We got other offers too, but there was no competing with this lady. It was nuts. All these factors together caused this open house to work. We tried to recreate that a couple other times, and one time we had a great house, but not the same neighborhood experience, but a very cool house. We actually picked up a listing from a neighbor who came to the open house, started talking to us, liked what we were doing. They actually had a property on the next block that was for sale. It had been on sale for over a year, and we didn't even know it was for sale. We had a new listing. We were running an open house. We're trying to get this one sold. We didn't even know that one was even there because it was just so old. The owner of that property asked us to come over. They ended up firing their current agents and hiring me to help them close their house. The unfortunate thing is they were trapped in a scenario where they worked with a renovation company that also had a realtor attached to their business. The two were tied together, and these sellers felt trapped by what was going on, because if they canceled their contract, the work done on their house, that bill would come due immediately. He ended up having to tap into his 401k and take a small loan to pay them off, to fire them and hire me. Long story short, we sold their house for the same price that they had it listed at for over a year. It was the right price, but those agents and their plan and their strategy was completely different. Their goal did not seem to be to get the home sold. It seemed to me that they were more interested in the renovation money, and the selling of the house, the commission from selling the house, was icing on the cake. It was probably less than 5% of the money that they were getting for the renovation. So their motivation was different. They'd already earned their money. Now it just had to sell at some point. So as I've shared, a buyer could come into your open house and buy it. All the right things happen. Ideally, what I believe about an open house that works is the open house signs and marketing that day is what gets someone to come in the house. If they go onto one of the search portals and they see that there's an open house this coming Saturday, then the MLS listing and the search portal worked. The open house just made it easier for them to go see it without setting an appointment and going with their own realtor or calling us as the listing agents to let them in and show them a house. They became interested in that house by seeing it on the internet, not the open house signs, not the directional signs, and going inside and seeing, having no idea what they were walking into, if it was even the right layout or number of bedrooms or square foot or even price, until they got in there, picked up a flyer, and toured the home. That's what I believe is a successful open house, and saying that you can sell it from an open house. Marketing it through the MLS, through the search portals as having an open house, that's using the internet and your MLS listing to market and get people into your house. Completely different. Agents will tell you one thing, but I think the way that I break this down, it makes sense that wherever they see it first is the real cause of someone getting interest in your house. Now, you might go that route. That everything I've just said is probably positive. Me getting that extra listing, that's actually, in my opinion, for you as a seller, a potential negative. Because here's the next thing of why I don't necessarily believe that you should have open houses. And one caveat is you should never allow your listing agent to let another agent hold an open house for them, especially from a different brokerage. Here's why. In my scenario where we had another house and got a listing from it, any realtor that calls your listing agent and says, hey, I'll hold your house open for you this weekend, they're not trying to sell your house for you or for that agent. They are trying to use your house as a draw to get buyers in. Selling your house is the last thing on their mind. They don't know anything about your house other than what they saw on the listing. There is no extra benefit to them if they meet someone in your living room that wants to buy a house and they don't have an agent, whether they buy your house, the one next door, or one in 3 months. That agent is going to make the same amount of money on the closing. They're not going to make any more money if they sell your house versus one of the others in the future. Their only goal is to attract new business for themselves. Their goal is not to help your agent or you sell your house. If you are told different, please ask them to explain why. Why would someone that doesn't have a listing of their own want to hold an open house for you and your agent if they're not getting any compensation for that amount of work? If they can give you an honest, fair answer that makes sense, maybe let it happen. I do not know a way that I could answer that in a way that would make it make sense for me. If I hold a 3-hour open house for you and your agent, I'm spending 4 to 5 hours that day focused on your property. And I'm not getting paid unless I find a buyer for that house. The path to me getting paid is if I meet a new buyer in your living room. The hook of getting them to like and trust me and understand how I do business would be to say, I can also show you houses in this neighborhood or others that you might like. Would you be interested in that? How does that help you? How does that help your listing agent? It doesn't. It actually works against you. So having an open house isn't necessarily the best idea. What I just explained is if an agent from another brokerage holds your open house. What if you say, okay, I want an open house. I believe in them. People have found their homes by visiting open houses. I think it will work. If you have your own agent hold your open house, you make a stipulation, says, I want open houses. If I'm going to hire you, I want you to hold at least one open house each weekend until we sell this house. Most agents would probably agree to that. Some won't. I don't know if I would or not. It depends on the house. But I can tell you that while my mindset is a little bit different than a realtor from another brokerage wanting to hold an open house at your place, but it's still very similar. My goal as a listing agent to highlight your house, to try to sell it to anybody that does come in and show interest. But what I'm not going to do is burn a bridge to the point of not meeting one of these people and realizing they don't want your house, but I might be able to work with them on another house. So I'm going to stay in contact. I do know a lot about your property. I can talk about your property. I have a reason to sell your property to anybody that comes in interested. But ultimately, I'm in this open house using your home as a prop for part of my marketing, not to sell your house so much as it is marketing to sell me, my experience, and my knowledge. So it's a tough thing to say if you should have open houses or not. I believe that a one-to-many marketing strategy is way better. Put your listing up and make sure that it is distributed to every portal possible. Make videos and make sure that those are distributed everywhere. Videos are great. They create interest. They are a great supplement to your MLS listing that goes out to the search portals. There are a lot of ways to market your property, but I believe the number one way to get the most eyes on it is going to be a very thorough MLS listing with the correct and complete details of your property, an agent that answers their phone and addresses questions about the property, and making sure that your property is available as often as possible for interested buyers to set appointments and come see your property with their representation so they can view your property without distraction. The simple fact of making the appointment with their agent and showing up viewing your property is a much greater commitment and shows a lot more interest than popping by on a Saturday at 1:30 because I'm in the area and I like the pictures on the internet. So I think that open houses are an interesting opportunity as well as something that maybe isn't as necessary as it might have been 10, 20 years ago because of the opportunity that you have for a one-to-many marketing program. If you want to talk more about selling your house, open houses, the whole process, because every step of this has pros and cons. And you can certainly do it yourself, but hiring someone with experience and understanding of how to do this and make it simple for you while maximizing the profit from your house, as well as getting the most exposure for it, that's when you want to hire someone like me who's got a lot of experience and focuses on this type of stuff day in and day out. Have questions? Please reach out.